This is Chip Maxwell, and you're listening to the Retire Smart podcast with David Brooks. For military members, is the blended retirement system automatically managed, or should they seek financial advice? With retirement around the corner, is it better to pay off debt or pile up more money in my 401k? And should I invest my saved up $50,000 in cash? Or, with all the news of a market correction coming, should I wait for the right moment? David Brooks has answers to these questions in today's Q&A episode. Into the Q&A we go. David, the first question is about what's called a blended retirement. I am going into the military and was told everyone is enrolled in the blended retirement system. Will I need financial advice, or is everything managed automatically in that system? David, maybe first tell us what is the blended retirement system, and then what's your answer here?
Okay, so our old military system, you didn't contribute. Basically, you got a pension if you stayed in your full 20, basically, equivalent of full 20 years of service, and you ended up with a 2.5% salary for each year of service, et cetera, depending on how you stayed. The system cut it to 2% now, so the new blended system, you only get a 2% vesting for each year for your pension. So your pension's going to be less than it would have been under the old. However, the Department of Defense contributes to the TSP on your behalf, 1%. And there's a match. I believe it's 1%, and I don't have it right in front of me. But you can get up to a 4% matching contribution if you contribute. So they're encouraging you to save, and then they will put money in. You also have the Roth available in those accounts. So you can put money in an account, pay the tax now, and those dollars for your 20-year military career plus whenever you want to touch them will be tax-free if you follow all the rules. So the new system can be really beneficial for those that are going to be prudent and diligent savers. But yes, bottom line, you should still seek out professional advice so you can understand the differences, the traditional side, the Roth side, what you're going to do. Most military professionals get out of the military in their 40s, their careers, plenty young enough to establish a complete second career and have a 20-year career in another field. I have several friends that have gone into teaching. It was a calling to them, but because they're blessed with a military pension, now the teacher salary, which I always talk about, is not enough, in my opinion. They can afford to have a pretty nice lifestyle because they're getting the pension as well. But you need to be planning for your post-military career. If you're going to make a career out of this, how does this work? And yes, you should put some skin in the game and contribute to it and understand what you're also allowed to do outside of that plan, which you can fully contribute to a Roth IRA, et cetera. You can save on your own. So absolutely, I would still say that you would.
There's a variety of decisions you need to make.
Yeah, and so first and foremost, thank you for your service to our country. And we'd be happy to set up a complimentary phone call with one of our advisors just to get you started in the right direction.
Next question, David. Debt versus growth. I have about 4 years left until retirement, and I'd really like to have $1 million in my 401k when I finish working. I should be able to achieve that if I save aggressively, but I also have a lot of debt. Should I focus more on paying off the debt or piling up more money in my account?
Okay, so here's the quandary is, do you invest more, compound that money, get the growth on the dollars to see a number? And again, $1 million is a nice number the first time you see that number behind your name or in an account. Becoming a millionaire today is not quite what it was, 20 years ago, but it's still a significant milestone, and we want to say kudos that you get there. However, when it comes to retirement's about income, Chip. How much income will you need? When you stop earning that paycheck here in hypothetically 4 years out, what will you need take-home pay to pay your bills, including your debts? Will your savings at that time, whether it's the million or shortfall of that because you paid down debt, what's going to be more important? Well, we would need to plan that out. We need to know what the interest is on that debt, how much of that debt is. Is it realistically that you could get that debt down? What is that monthly payment? And here's a simple rule of thumb. If you were going to take a 4 or 5% distribution on your retirement, assuming you're in your 60s, that would be relatively safe number, just to assume. So if you got $1 million, let's just use 4%. There's the old 4% rule. That'd be $40,000 a year in withdrawals that math says you might be able to take safely. Again, we can argue if that's safe or not, but how much debt payment are you talking about you'd still have if you went for the $1 million versus paying the debt? Is it $1,000 a month? Well, that's $12,000 a year. That's over 25% of that income you're going to withdraw. So you might be better off paying it down. But again, we got to figure out how much debt, how much interest you're paying, and then we can work the numbers out. But this is a great question. And this is why you want to work with an advisor who you pay, right, versus an advisor who gets paid to sell you a mutual fund or a variable annuity or something and only works commission, because they're going to tell you to buy the investment, right?
Well, we use the term fiduciary, and that's what you're talking about,
Yes.
right?
And so you could set up, again, perfect person for the report card to find out, because we're going to look at not only your assets, but your liabilities, and then help you align which one of those is more important. And we talk about on this show, I paid off a mortgage last year. I owed less than $100,000 on a house that's worth probably $700,000 at a 2.5% interest rate. I think it was 2.7, because it made my wife happy, not because it was a smart financial decision, at least in my opinion. But I had that money in a guaranteed account earning over 4.5%, but happy wife, happy life. So we can do the math, but then we also have to make the decision that's right for you.
All right. So the 4.5 was beating the 2.5 that you were
Correct. I had
paying
an
in
interest
on the
arbitrage
mortgage.
in my favor.
But there are other considerations. It emphasizes what we see so often. It's not a one-size-fits-all proposition. For one person, the answer might be yes to this question, pay down some more debt. For another, it might be no, right along with that mortgage at 2%,
Correct. And it depends. What's the payment? What's the cash flow that you have? Do you have other resources? There's a lot of factors into it.
Yeah. All right. Let's squeeze in one more question, David. This one is about cash deployment. My husband and I have $50,000 cash that we want to invest, but we keep hearing that a market correction is coming. Should we go ahead and invest the money, or continue waiting for the right moment?
Look, if you're going to try and time the perfect moment, you're likely not going to call the ball, so to speak, right? So I would tell you that you should practice something called DCA, dollar cost averaging, on the accumulation of investing for retirement. This is one of the reasons most Americans are most successful through their workplace retirement plan, like the 401k or the 403b, because you're dollar cost averaging. They take a little bit of money out of your paycheck each week or each payroll period and invest that in the market at the time you put it in. So what happens is, when the markets are a little higher, you buy less shares, but you're still buying. When the market's a little bit lower, you buy more shares of the same thing, but the price is down. Your account value might be down short term, but you're not buying for now, you're buying for, and you end up paying less per unit on average by using what's called dollar cost averaging versus lump sum putting it all to work at once. However, I want to put a word of caution. The exact opposite happens when you're starting to withdraw income, and this is why the math is so different. Dollar cost withdrawing can literally wreak havoc, and you can run out of money because of what's called sequence of returns. Again, so many great questions this week, and why it is important that you work with a competent financial professional to help give you these type of answers. So I would tell you, though, start investing, put some money to work. It's never going to be the perfect time. And then dollar cost average that in maybe over 6 months to a year-long period. And then if the market dips, you're buying things at a discount.
Thank you for listening to the Retire Smart podcast with David Brooks. If you want to learn how to generate lifetime income, reduce your tax bill, and maintain your lifestyle in retirement, visit retiresmartpodcast.com. And make sure to subscribe to keep up with new episodes every week.